if maybe I'm seeing it now. Now the sports crib can really get going. Y'all missed the first hot 10 minutes. Mr. Scott, where you at? I'm calling you out now. Now that we're live, where you at, Mr. Scott? Pistons 120, Timberwolves 97. Where the hell is Mr. Scott? That's all I got to say.
Well, hey, I might as well go straight on into the NBA then, because I had picked that because I know, certain individuals don't talk, basketball.
Yeah,
So, Don said he'll be on as soon as we get finished, and Mike said he'll be on a little later too.
Oh, nice. It'd be good to see Mike.
So let's talk about those Pistons, because as I had said earlier, let me see, where do I have this at here?
I think it's near the top. It's near the top.
Well, I've been trying to recruit some other guys too. So,
okay.
I've hopefully for this year we'll have some. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I had started out that the Pistons are currently on a 3-game losing streak, and they face the Timberwolves tonight. The Pistons prevailed 116 to 104 in their first matchup. And as I told you last week, I have quite a few Pistons on my fantasy team, and at least 2 on some and on a couple 3.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Cade is injured, so he's out. But I have Stewart on a couple, and what's the other young kid?
Killian Hayes or Sadiq Bey? You got Killian Hayes, right?
Hayes. Yeah. They ride the pine most of the time, but they're there on those days, and for those days, like I said, I just need them to perform. I don't really need to be superstars. Just give me a few points. But anyway, what's your take on the Pistons? Once again, was it halfway through the season? I think they're 11-33.
Yep.
So we talked about the Pistons making a little progress, but once again that injury bug, of course. And you're playing in the hard conference. Excuse me, but what's your take on this season?
I think it's not rocket science. Number one, they have a super young core. Other than Bojan Bogdanovic, this is a really young team. And what does that mean? On the court, it's about defensive assignments, simple basketball things like switching, how to switch, backside defense, working through screens, communication. That takes time. That takes time to build up. Historically, if you go back and look at really solid championship level teams, they had to learn how to get there. We talked about their early Jordan Bulls teams had to learn how to beat my Pistons. They had to learn that stuff. I think other teams went through that. You have to go through that before you get there. This is a team that has some young talent, but there's a lot you have to learn. Second is the thing you mentioned about injury. I would venture to say we are top 3 or 4 in missed games by starters. The downside to that is obvious. On the floor, you don't have the continuity because different lineups are in every day. I think that you also get a degree of just talent. A talent drop off. Cade is the centerpiece, right? And Cade's been out for a long time. Cade's the centerpiece. Everything works off of Cade. So the upside is Killian Hayes has gotten a chance to be on the floor more, show what he can be. There's a group of Piston fans who, 2 months ago would have said it's time to move on from him. And now what we've seen what this guy can be. He's literally, I think, just 21, maybe still 20. So he is just scratching the surface of what he can be. I think that you have draft capital. And you have the ability to make a trade because Bojan is a professional shooter and people are going to want him at the trade deadline. The injuries have hurt. Marvin Bagley, one of our bigs, has missed a lot of games. Stewart is out now. So our Jalen Durant is out. So we've got bigs that have missed games, which is not as much about, okay, teams blow us out. When you play a Joel Embiid like we did the other night, you can't stop them. if you don't have quality bigs. And that's no disrespect to Nerlens Noel. So it's a combination of being young and the growth that comes with understanding defense assignments that a young team just hasn't gotten. It's a disjointedness because of continuity, because of the different lineups, because of injuries. And quite frankly, it's the talent drop off when you take Cade, Durant, Bagley, Stewart out of a lineup. That's not your best lineup. That's not your real lineup. Tonight, we gave Minnesota the business. We got Boyan back. I think Ivy is playing well, and Sadiq Bey is playing well. When Sadiq Bey shoots well, we're a different team. Sadiq Bey is a big deal.
That's my third guy.
Yeah,
So Sadiq Bey is a very interesting study because I thought about him from Toronto, just like I thought about Kawhi.
Yeah.
And the role that he plays, because he's another one of those guys that gives you a lot of energy points.
Yep.
And he gives you that veteran leadership.
Yeah. And So they acquired a guy from the Knicks named Alec Burks. Way better than I thought he was. Burks is a really good shooter.
Yeah.
So they've got a couple of veterans. This team is super young. I wouldn't be surprised if they're the youngest team in the league. Probably top 3 youngest teams in the league. So the long view of them is they're not competing for this Victor kid. They may or may not get him. It's not on purpose. If it were up to them, Bagley would be healthy, Cade would be healthy, and they would be competing for a play-in spot because they're talented enough. They are not mature enough yet. So this is really a positive because you got these young players getting this experience, getting that bad taste of losing games, and just growing. Killian Hayes' growth alone is worth it. Jaden is getting valuable minutes. This is worth it. And so I think next year is the year where they make that Detroit Lions like jump, where you see this transformation to, they might be a problem soon. They might be a problem. Now, it's going to take a couple moves, right? I think if you trade Boyan at the trade deadline, you need to get draft picks that you could use this year to add talent to the team, or at minimum some kind of expiring contract to give you cap space. I like Troy Weaver, the GM. There's a debate about the coach. I happen to be a fan. I like him. But the much shorter answer is they're really young and they've had a lot of missed games due to injury. So they're still a year away. But they're talented. They're not this is a bad team, and it's not a tank job. It's legitimate because of injury and growth. But I think organic growth over the next year, Killian grows, Ivy grows, Cade gets healthy. Each of these guys continue to get better, and you add more talent. They're a year away from being relevant, 2 years away from being competitive. And that's okay. It takes time to do it right. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, like I said, I think you guys, you're in a very hard conference. You're in a conference where you have a lot of young players. There's not a lot of, there's a lot of youth in the Eastern Conference, and that's, that's one thing you're going to have to, I guess, work through. But the good thing is that every year you're getting higher draft picks.
Right.
So you like you said, you're getting the talent. You need the maturity, and when you speak of Burks, I kind of think of him as what's the other Curry that plays for the Nets.
Yeah, Seth.
You have to kind of think of Burks like that without that type of firepower. I mean, he's not going to put up as many points as Seth, but he'll give you that all, and coming off the bench, he's going to give you that energy every day.
But your point about the East can't be taken lightly. Boston's going to be good for a while. Miami is going to be good. Cleveland, ironically, is pretty good. Philadelphia is no joke. Milwaukee still has Giannis, last I checked, right? And so it's not like, whoa, wait a minute. Toronto is not bad. And oh, by the way, World B. Flat and Kevin Durant are still in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
that's 6 teams right there. We're not close to any of them yet.
Right, and then
tough conference.
You might be close to Indiana, maybe.
Right. We're not even that. We have to make that jump. Yeah, we have to make the jump to be the 7 team, right? 7 or 8 before we can start talking about any of the 6 teams I just made. We're not ready to compete consistently with any of those 6 teams.
but if you get that core back,
Yep.
like we've been talking about,
Sure.
plus you're
Sure.
building on it with the draft,
Yeah,
then
and we have cap space. We have
yeah.
capital where
See,
we can, guys will be available, and we got to make Detroit an attractive option. We got to do what the Lions are doing, quite frankly. Keep adding talent through the draft, and keep your cap healthy, and you can go out and get those pieces. So, yeah,
funny, funny how the Lions seem to be your
always,
example
always, bro,
tonight.
always. I will find a way. I
What's
will
that?
find a way. It's always about them.
What are those pictures behind you again? No.
Right, exactly. The old
so,
logos, all of
so let's talk about the college championship game.
it.
uh,
Okay.
and TCU 65.
No,
I mean,
TCU wish it had six.
excuse me.
Yeah,
Georgia
yeah.
65. TCU 65 snaps. I mean, 7.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, but so couple questions here, and Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart back to back, but this second one,
Right, right.
look at the number of records that he set. So I mean, now a lot of us thought that TCU was over their head when they got there, beating
Yeah,
Michigan,
yeah.
but of course, if they want to know about that, they can go back to last week's program and catch it on YouTube
Catch
or
that.
whatever.
Exactly what I said, man.
so,
Stand by.
so, so anyway, what do you think? Do you think that uh, Kirby ran up the score and made sure that he smashed a lot of those Alabama records on the way
Yeah,
in a back-to-back situation? Uh, what was your thoughts? I mean,
yeah.
did you see did you see the guy that got that last draft or that last scholarship
Yep.
you know was there a Brock Purdy out on the field at
Right,
any time?
right. I think the idea of did he run it up or was TCU just overmatched? I think it's yes and hell yes, right? Both things can be true. Both things are true, right? I think if Kirby Smart has an opportunity to metaphorically say, "Hey, Alabama, get my name out your mouth," right? Right? You take it. You have to. The benchmark is Saban, and whatever you think of Kirby Smart, the benchmark is Saban, and he is at a place in a situation and get his name in that category, right? I think it takes a giant mismatch for there to be that kind of performance, record-setting performances. So of course it was a mismatch, and that's no disrespect to TCU. It's probably a disrespect to Michigan if anybody, but and I never pass up a chance to disrespect that school. Go green. But they're on a different level right now. Kirby Smart and Georgia are on a different level. This was the level that Alabama was on, and everybody said, "Oh my God, Alabama's going to run the world forever." And then Dabo and Clemson said, "Wait a minute, there's a way to do this. There's a way to do this." And then Kirby was like, "You know what? Yeah, there is a way to do this." So to me, it's just you got to step up. You got to, and there's really a way, and we'll talk about that later with NIL and transfer portals for other schools. It might not be a conventional way. TCU, for example, got there via non-conventional means. You might have to hit the portal. You might have to like poach somebody, right? You might have to sign an NIL deal, ask your boosters to step up, whatever it takes. It could be done. Building what Georgia has built is not easy, but it can be done. We saw Dabo do it. There was a 6, 7 year stretch where Clemson was. Clemson is still right there, by the way. Clemson didn't disappear. Dabo's not going anywhere, so Clemson's still in there. And as much as I want to bash him, Michigan still recruits, and I don't know what their coach is going to do, but Michigan is still there. Ohio State is still there. The
We're
gap
going to
isn't
talk about
huge.
who might be their coach next, but
Right,
that's
right.
another
But yeah,
situation.
Georgia is clearly at a level where I don't think Alabama's that far behind. So I think it's Georgia and Alabama's right there. And then there's a slight drop, and you got to put in Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State. There's schools that are there. Texas A&M can get back there quickly with these all these
USC.
menaces. USC,
you,
right? Yeah.
you
So
know,
it's a two good recruiting classes, a couple transfers. You're there, right? Kirby's just done it really, really well
We haven't even
about
talked
4 years.
about Oklahoma. Did
Right.
all of a sudden Oklahoma disappear?
Right.
Much as Don, much as Don would rather
Might
fly
would like to
over it
say
than
that.
drive
Exactly.
through it.
Yeah, yeah. Don Hayes would say they disappeared. Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
but
But it's there's a group of schools up there that can play with them. Kirby gets how to do it. He learned with the master, and Kirby's doing it well. But to your question, Monday night was an emphatic statement of get the name Alabama out your mouth. Georgia, you need to talk about Georgia. And Saban was in the house, and he knew Saban was in the house, and he absolutely was making a statement.
I'm sure if we saw him on TV, it was on the jumbotron at least once.
Or at least,
At least once,
yeah,
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 and right about the time that it got to 50, I'm pretty sure it was on there because that's when the Alabama records start falling. I think around
exactly. And I'm sure
45.
Nick wanted to get out of that post game commitment, but he couldn't.
What do you think the chances are for Georgia to three-peat?
I think that's tougher. I just think statistically it's tougher. It's you wouldn't say that after what I just saw, but right, we just talked about it. Alabama's not going away. Tennessee's a good team that is coming back up. A&M is still there, still the SEC. I wouldn't sleep on Auburn starting to make a comeback. So just within their own conference, there's just tough games there, right? And then we've seen that if you lose 2 games, you're not even given a shot. Alabama might be the second best team in the country, but they had 2 really tough losses, like tough losses, right? And I will guarantee you that Alabama would have gave them a better game than TCU gave them. Probably a better game than Michigan would have gave them. And oh, by the way, Ohio State was right there, right? So the gap isn't so huge that they're just going to walk to a third. So I'm going to say based on like statistics, and there are schools that are closer to Georgia than we want to admit. There's a handful of schools right there. And I would say Alabama, Clemson can be back. Certainly a couple USC. There's some teams out there that could make a couple moves and be right there. I think it's gonna be hard to do, man. They're the target for everybody next year, every game.
And what do you think about Stetson Bennett? Are we going to be seeing him on Sundays?
So I believe your question said, will Stetson Bennett be an NFL quarterback? And I'm going to answer it closely. Will he be an NFL quarterback? Yeah. Will he be a good one? No. Right? His old ass should be. This is like 29, 30. How old is he? Right?
I think he's 28, isn't he?
No, I think it's 25. I think it's 25.
No, 26.
26?
I think
So
he's
here's
26.
the deal. Here's the
He'll be
reality
26.
of the fact that he's playing in college at 25 or 26 means he was not good enough to be drafted into the pros prior to that. So my feeling is this dude is older than Brock Purdy. He's older than Trevor Lawrence. He's older than Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert. He's older than guys playing this weekend. Your old ass should have already been in the NFL, right? If you were gonna look at this guy, look at my guy.
What's up,
There you go.
Demetrius?
There's my
What's up,
guy.
buddy?
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be back. I'm bashing Stetson Bennett right now. This 30-year-old dude is all up in college, playing against little kids. No, his old ass should be in the pro. So my analysis of will he be a good NFL quarterback? If he had the potential to be a good NFL quarterback, his ass would have been in the league 3 years ago.
Yeah. There you go.
And by the way, there is nothing wrong with being a very good college quarterback. So Stetson Bennett, the 4th or the 7th or whatever the hell that digit is back there, congratulations, bro. But he might be on a roster. He's not going to be an impactful NFL quarterback. I'm sorry. I'll take Brock Purdy over his old ass.
Yep.
Yeah. He'll be selling cars on Sunday
He'll be holding the clipboard for somebody.
Well, actually, he might be on, selling, like I said, cars on Prime Video on
He might
Thursday.
be. There's a Georgia
Don.
booster with a job for him somewhere.
Don, how you doing this evening, my man?
How we feeling?
Great.
Are we feeling better? We getting over that?
Better.
Oh, excellent. Good. We were struggling a little bit last week. I'm glad you Mike. He manned up last week. He was. I'm going to speak for him. He was feeling like crap. He sounded like he was feeling like crap last week. He manned up, showed up on the crib, gave us our gratuitous Bijan Robinson take. Talked a little Texas football and Israel trip. It was awesome. I was glad
Right
to be
on.
back.
Right on.
Yeah. Even it looks a lot better there, Don. They got that shiny, head there. You see, I covered mine. I don't
His
know.
hat game is cool. I see them hats in the background. Nice.
Oh,
I like
hey,
this.
you got to remember that Don is not only a museum curator, but he's also a collector. But Don,
Exactly.
we're talking about this 65-7. What time is it? Not quite.
Feel your boy.
Not quite that time yet.
That's his guy too, man. That must have hurt. That's his guy.
What, oh man, that's right. Hey,
His childhood friend, man. That's painful.
all you have to do is, like I said, if you guys want to know the answers to a lot of questions, just look at last week's show, and you'll understand. But Don, was it as painful for you as it was for him?
Well, I was going for TCU. They're a state team, and like I said, I know the Dykes family. Known them since I was very young, and so it did my heart good to see them there. I figured Georgia would win. I was thinking maybe 10, 13 points. I was not expecting what I saw. They just someone we were talking at school with some of my coworkers, and they said, "Yeah, those 5 stars, that matters," because TCU has only had one 5-star in their whole history. A guy named Zach Evans, who played 1 year, and he transferred to Ole Miss, running back. So that's the only 5-star TCU's ever had. They're full of 3 and 4 stars. Yeah. Well, Georgia,
right?
They're overtaking Alabama in the recruiting situation. So after a while, it just you're met with the overwhelming force. And so, and I'm going to say this: I got in on the end of the conversation. I do think Stetson Bennett will be in NFL. His skill set is very similar to that of Baker Mayfield. He's about the same height. I think he has a better head on his shoulder than Baker Mayfield, and I think that will help him as he goes. I don't think he's going to be a first-year starter or anything like that. I think he'll be a backup, and I think
30 years old though, isn't he?
Well, yeah, well.
No, he's only 25, Mike. I'm kidding. He's not really 30. 25, 26, yeah.
But if you look at his history, I mean, he started off as a walk-on at Georgia. Yeah. And he said, I'm not ready. So he transferred to a junior college and developed and lit it up. He came to Georgia and lit it up again. So, I mean, he's been a developer. Some guys and I think just from personal experience, Oklahoma State probably does the best job of taking the 3 stars and making them NFL players eventually. So I think that's kind of what happened. He's never underestimate a guy who's willing to put in the work. And every time I heard about Stetson Bennett, he will put in the work. Yeah. He knows nothing's given to him. So his work ethic, I think, with his developed skill set, I think he will be in the NFL a lot longer than I ever was. So,
right, me too. Right,
Mike, what was your take on that championship game?
Well, I didn't watch it because I knew it wasn't going to be pretty. So I'm like, I'm out. I'll go spend my time somewhere else. I didn't think it was going to be as big as a blowout. I was like Don, maybe 17 points, but what I saw out of Michigan, what they did to TCU, and their defense, their college defense that's been playing all year actually showed up, as well as their offense. It would have been ugly as well. So I knew that Georgia was going to take them, and just not by 80 points or whatever it was.
And are we going to see Mr. Bennett on Sunday?
You'll see him holding Gatorade bottles, but that's about it. I mean, he'll find a place, he'll find a home, but it's No, he's not going to be a starter unless like two other starters go down or something that effect. But yeah, I mean,
I think Don's got a point in that there are guys who are valuable in the room. He could be a guy who's valuable in the quarterback room. I don't know how much he's active per se, but when you got a smart guy with a work ethic, you need dudes like that on a winning team.
Yep.
Even if they don't play a lot. And I think everything I've heard about him matches what Don said. Your question was an NFL quarterback, and I said yes.
Yep.
Maybe a great one. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know if he'll be an NFL quarterback, but I do think he will be involved in somebody's team, whether it's player personnel or whatever.
My prediction is one day he'll be a coach. By the way, he'll be a coach somewhere, probably at the college level. I think he'll go through and he'll end up being a quarterback coach somewhere, and then I think what you're going to see from that dude is he'll end up being a coach somewhere. 10 years from now.
See that.
Yeah. Don, was that more of Kirby Smart sending a message to Nick Saban when he abolished or just obliterated all those Alabama records?
I don't know. He's sending a message to Nick Saban. I mean, coaches, for the most part, don't think that way. I'm going to do this to send a message to this particular coach. I just think, from being a coach profession myself, it's more about, maximizing your effort from your players, get them to buy into your program because that's half the battle. I mean, that's what it is at Texas right now. You got to find kids who are willing to buy into what you're doing. And then you put your players in positions where they're successful. You get the ball to your playmakers, and that's what Georgia did. And if you look at Kirby Smart, he's copying Saban's game plan. Yeah. Get deep on the defensive line, get deep on the offensive line, and then just pick your skill people. People realize that Alabama over the years. I mean, if you look at NFL rosters, they're chock full of Alabama linemen. Yeah. And Georgia's getting to that point too now. So that's the trend right now. And even Sarkisian is doing it at Texas. He started 2 true freshmen this year on the offensive line who were, one's a high 4-star, the other guy's a 5-star. So that's the game plan, to load up on linemen and get and find some playmakers. That's
Well, since you kind of segued us into it, Don, I'm going to talk a little college football here. Who's going to be your starting quarterback in 23, Don?
Where at?
In Texas.
Well, it'll be Quinn Ewers. He's finished his freshman season. He's had up and down. There's a lot of talk about Arch Manning, but Arch Manning has already said he wants the red shirt. And so there you have it. So it'll be Ewers. However, Texas does have a guy named Malik Murphy who won the state championship in California, last year's a freshman. And I've seen him, just at games, warm up. He's got a great release. He's 6'4". He's tall, he's very smooth, very mobile. So, don't count out Malik Murphy. But I think right now it's Ewers to lose. And if he has the kind of games he's had, like the last 3 or 4 he had at Texas, they'll make the change eventually. But, Sark, right now he's Sark's, ride or die guy. So we'll find out how it goes, because they do make that trip to Alabama second game.
Don, according to you last week, Bijan, then who?
Well, so Texas has a very good running back named Jonathan Brooks, who actually his last regular season game had 100-yard rushing. He's was a true freshman this year. He breaks tackles. He doesn't have the balance that Bijan had. He doesn't have the hands Bijan had, but he might be a little bit faster than Bijan. And then you got the number one running back in the nation, a guy named Cedric Baxter out of Florida.
He's good.
He's enrolled already. He's out on campus at UT. He early enrollee. He'll go through spring. A lot of talk about him. If he fits the hype, Texas shouldn't lose too much in running back position, which is kind of crazy to say because you lose the Doak Walker winner, but
right.
Okay, well, you guys seem to be pretty set down there. Mike, if not Harbaugh, who?
Yeah. I don't want to even think about it unless Harbaugh goes to the Colts. But
right. How would you feel about that? I was wondering. Is that you're torn, or are you just like okay? All right, we'll wait.
Yeah,
I wanted to get his thoughts on that. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think Harbaugh leaves Michigan unless he goes probably. I don't see it happening. So Harbaugh would be Michigan. I don't know who they would look at. They would probably look at someone offensively, or maybe even their defensive coordinator. I can't remember his name. He came from Baltimore. He recruited him from there, and so maybe that move, lateral or upper move, but still staying with the same team. That might be a situation as well.
Are you set at the quarterback and running back positions at the UM?
Yeah, for sure. So we're set there. We're set at running back. Blake Corum is returning. He's after that ACL or whatever it was tear. He's going to come back. So we're set at most of the skill positions. I think we're going to lose Bell, Ronnie Bell, and then I think Eric All is also a senior. Yeah. So we're going to
all transferred to Iowa, didn't he?
No.
Yeah, I think. Oh, he didn't. Didn't one of your transfers? So I think Schoonmaker declared for the draft, but I thought all transferred. I shouldn't be keeping track of that team. You double check that for me, Mike. I think. Yeah, but I think. By the way, Donovan Edwards is the running back you need to think about because that dude's really good.
He's really good.
That might be their back. They're fine at running back, and obviously JJ, they're fine at quarterback. I don't. They're not going to fall off much, but and even if all did, he did. Okay, yeah, they're if all didn't move, they produce tight ends like it's nothing. I hate that they're good, but they are.
Oh, wait a minute, you might be right. Eric Hall entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think he declared to go to Iowa. He followed your other quarterback, McNamara. Yeah.
Okay.
McNamara went to Iowa also, which they're going to be fine. We don't need to spend a bunch of time talking about that school. They're going to be fine.
Well, maybe I should have asked you about Michigan and ask him about.
But it would have all been hate, though. I would have been saying it with this angry tone, right, and pissing people off, and we ain't trying to do that. So.
Well, no, because I'm going to bring out the anger in you because this question kind of we've talked about this last year, and when we talked about the the places in the conference, of course, Ohio State, Michigan, then you have your other schools, and so in the current situation, I guess what were they the Big Ten? You would rank Michigan State maybe about number 5,
4 or 5.
Yeah. Okay, but now you have USC and UCLA coming over due to like I said, I mentioned the transfer portal, and the expansion of the Big Ten Conference. What is the pecking order now for MSU?
Well, it's still those other 2 schools at the top. We are aware of that. We're not foolish. Penn State falls in there somewhere because of the expansion. I expect likely Purdue moves over to the east, and then we're in that at our best we're 3rd. No, at our best we can compete with the other 2 schools. I've never been one who said, we will have our moments. I've never said we're either one of those schools. The school in Ohio and the school down the road are point blank, full stop, the best two schools in our conference. They will be for the foreseeable future. They kind of always have been. Like one of the two of them always have been. We have our times. Wisconsin will rise up every now and then. Maybe Minnesota, maybe Penn State. That's how the Big Ten is. There's two schools that are consistently better than everybody. And then there's 3 or 4 schools that in a given year will jump up and make noise. Right. There are 2 or 3 years. Now, I love our coach. I love how he's using the portal. We'll be one of those teams. But when they really break this thing up, I don't care about USC because in UCLA, they're going to be in the West. They're going to be fighting PJ Fleck in Minnesota. They're going to be worried about Luke Fickell in Wisconsin. They're going to be worried about Matt Rule in Nebraska, right? That's the West of the Big Ten's not going to be a slouch, by the way. When Matt Rule gets Nebraska back and Luke Fickell gets going in Wisconsin, the West in the Big Ten is going to be pretty interesting. But for me, it's always about Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. That's what it is. But look at what I just talked about, our conference, right? That's a really good conference, man. It is. I'm not going to sleep on the SEC, but man, I love what our conference is. I didn't even talk about Purdue will have their years. I didn't even talk about when Illinois might rise up on occasion, but think about just like the 8 schools I just mentioned. That's a pretty deep conference, right? It's a deep East and a deep West. And if God forbid we snatch up Oregon and Stanford and make a real West, oh man, we're gonna be dangerous. But so your question was about Michigan State. We have work to do. Period. I won't make excuses for our 5-7 season. There's reasons. Injury. Simply put, our quarterback regressed, and I didn't expect that. I talked as though our quarterback would make the jump he made from his freshman to sophomore year. I thought he'd make the same jump sophomore to junior. He did not. He regressed. Transfer portal is a tool we're going to use. We're going to get better. We're gonna make noise, but I'm smart enough and honest enough. We're not them. We're not them. We're not the school in Ohio. We're not. We'll never be. We have to do our thing differently. So we'll have our moments. I think we got a good 3 or 4 years in front of us, where we'll make noise. Will we ever get back to the CFP? Probably not. 2015 was probably and then we did a TCU when we ran into the buzzsaw called Alabama, and it was 31-3 at halftime or something like that. And I stopped watching, took off my shirt, and went and got drunk. So, but I know who we are, and it's still my team. I bleed green and white. I know who we are, though. But it's we got to do it differently. And I love Mel. I think Mel's going to do some great things, but we got to do it differently.
Don, you kind of mentioned it when you were first talking about TCU and the disparity between Georgia and TCU. Did that college game actually demonstrate the disparity between the haves and the have-nots? Because, I mean, truthfully speaking, this will probably be the last time that TCU is mentioned in a conversation with a championship, a national championship. What's your thoughts on that, Don, about is there going to be more or less disparity?
Well, you can make that case that TCU might have blown it for, Baylor and what's their church school, Brigham Young.
The church school.
Yeah, SMU. Notre Dame is the only church school that's probably safe.
That's great.
We're almost after dark.
I know. I think he just danced on the line. I think church school is probably okay.
Hey, I'm a Christian, so I can say that. But,
absolutely.
But I mean, let's take a different look at TCU. TCU was picked 5th in the conference. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize this. They're not the conference champion. Kansas State was. And so, like I said, I was going for TCU. Like, Sonny Dukes is one of the best men you'll ever meet. Just a good guy. But you're not a conference champion, but you got into the playoff, and that's why I'm just like chomping at the bit to expand the playoff, because if you expand the playoffs, you're not going to have the kind of game we saw.
Right.
You're more likely to see a championship game of like Ohio State versus Georgia, which was, settled in the fourth quarter. You're not going to have this, when it's done at halftime.
Right.
Hell, halftime, the second quarter, shit. But
if Mike's team would have done their damn job, we probably would have had a good championship game. Blame that on Mike's group.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah.
But it's
we got Mike saying amen in the background. Go ahead.
No, but I'm just saying that TCU had a great season. You can't take that away from them. But again, the committee has to really think about stuff like that next. I'm going to say, well, did they win their conference? Would it be best to have like maybe Alabama or Utah in there, or who knows? I mean, Utah won their conference championship. They beat the crap out of USC. So, I mean, there's some teams out there that were on the bubble. I guess they just said, well, we'll just get TCU. TCU had a great story because Max Dugan was he was like the poster child of the guy who the underdog. Even maybe more so than Stetson Bennett. He wasn't even a starter at the first of the year. So, it's just it's crazy. I just think that once we get to playoffs, 12 teams, it'll be better.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see. I think Don's absolutely right. You won't ever see a blowout like this with 12 teams because at the end of the day, Mike's team won't be in there to fuck it up. First of all, sorry, but the best teams will work out. We would have seen Ohio State, Georgia, or Alabama.
We had 7 more minutes before
I know.
after dark, but
here's the thing. TCU could still make the playoff as a 12 team.
Who is doing that? Is that me? Is it?
Not me.
No, that's me.
Okay, all right.
Since you already took us there,
Right.
I mean, we might as well play the music since you already took us there. But
All
go ahead,
bets
Don.
are now. Mike can get going. I think he's right. TCU will be in the 12 team though, because that, and they would deserve to. And by the way, I think they deserve to be in this year, and I think they proved they deserved it by beating Mike's guys. I just think that Georgia was a buzzsaw, and Georgia, some point that speed, man, that speed, it's a different kind of speed that some of these teams have, and I think TCU should hold their heads up high despite what happened Monday to be there. That for that school to be in that game.
Yep,
that's an accomplishment, man.
For sure.
Well, look, I've already pled guilty to putting 4 cases of Army surplus toilet paper in the Ohio State kicker's tree in his front lawn. So, I had my old man rant, but Mike, what do you think? Is there going to be a bigger disparity between the haves and the have-nots? Yeah, I mean, this could also mean, does it mean that we're always going to have that, cream rising to the top, or eventually are we going to see, maybe, another TCU, maybe an Arizona State, maybe a UCLA, but, so what do you think? Does this really solidify the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Texas? What do you think?
I think there's going to be upsets, and it's a lot more fun to have more teams involved, and it's going to sort of like football, NFL football now, where it's who's going to. There's so many different variables, and that's going to make it more exciting because more fans will be involved and from their schools, and they'll draw interest. But at the end of the day, the best team wins, and I don't know if Georgia would have lost. I think they deserve to win the championship, and even if there was 8 more teams involved, I don't see Georgia losing.
Yeah, I think though that one thing I might slightly disagree because I think that between the NIL, transfer portal, and what Don talked about, the expansion of the playoffs, I think some of that gap is going to get closed. Because like what used to happen, what kind of still happens is teams like Georgia and Alabama oversign kids. So like last year, they got two of the top 5 running backs signed with Alabama. And then the following year, 2 more top running backs will sign with Alabama. It's like, where are they getting all these damn scholarships? And they're not. They're oversigning, and then they end up cutting kids. Well, in the old world, that kid would have to wait a year, right? Would transfer and sit out a year. Now, not only can he just enter the portal and go anywhere right now, he can go there and get an NIL. He can pretty much say, who's got the check, show me the money, and go anywhere. So a team like Michigan State, for example, we can go. We did it with Kenneth Walker, who wasn't at a big school, but it's a deal where you find this talented kid, fits your system. He's somewhere buried on a depth chart. The 4th running back at Georgia can leave tomorrow and go start at 50 schools in the country.
Yep.
20 of them are really good schools. And Oklahoma's not going anywhere. Matt Rule's not playing around in Nebraska. You know, you have school. Tennessee is not a joke anymore. Auburn's going to come back. LSU is still LSU. Miami, Florida State. If you're buried on the depth chart at Alabama or Georgia and you can go start at Florida State tomorrow and get some cash on the way, get a bag of money when you get there, that's the thing that's going to change the game. That's why the top teams, that's going to close that gap.
So let me throw something on there, Demetrius. So we're talking about the quarterback position at Texas. So a guy who's a part-time starter this year, a guy named Hudson Card,
right,
who actually had a lot better stats than Quinn Ewers.
Yep.
Just transferred to Purdue.
Exactly.
Now Purdue is they got a
wide receiver.
Yeah, they're so just keep that name in mind, Hudson Card, because if Purdue beat some people, which they've been known to do, to play the spoiler.
Yep. That dude will he'll put up 450 against Michigan State next fall because we need corners. Any corners who are thinking about entering the portal, the area code for East Lansing is 517. Please call somebody.
So,
we need corners.
Yeah, I think Purdue is tight end. I think it is right. Not
Purdue has good offensive teams in general. Okay. They have for years, and I think that kid's that's a smart move by that kid. Arch has committed. You're not seeing the field anytime soon, bro. You might as well. And Purdue is in the Big Ten. It's not like he went to some small school. He can get into the league out of West Lafayette, Indiana, because a lot of people see a guy named Drew Brees, right? It's a different world now. And somebody gave him a bag of money to come to Purdue because that kid is good, and other teams probably wanted him. And in this world now, you get a bag of money to go to, and you can sit out a year. Yeah, those guys will leave.
So Hudson Card comes from the same high school that gave us Baker Mayfield.
Nice.
He was the number 2 dual threat quarterback in the nation his senior year. Dual threat. He's a white guy.
Exactly. So, everybody loves a dual threat white guy. Trust me. Yeah. In West Lafayette, Indiana, that kid's gonna be popular.
But no, so he's he played wide receiver his first years in high school. So he's a good athlete. I mean, he's smart. He's on honor roll. He already graduated from Texas.
Oh,
he has 2 years eligibility left.
Oh, that's out. See, that's
what Purdue's getting.
Right.
Yeah, and we're stuck with Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, stuck with Quinn Ewers. Wham. I'm so sorry, bro. What are you?
Hey, I was on Hudson Card. I was hoping he'd stay and win the job.
And do what? Carry the clipboard for Arch? What is Hudson supposed to do?
Arch is redshirting. He already said so.
But
Quinn Ewers is redshirt.
But once he takes the red shirt off, right?
Right. Quinn Ewers is your quarterback this year, and Arch is your quarterback next year. I'm sitting there with Hudson. I'm like, dude, West Lafayette is not a bad place.
I get what you're saying, but I was hoping Hudson would stay and beat out Quinn Ewers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers can become a Boilermaker just as easy, right?
Yeah.
Watch Quinn Ewers have a record season and Don's eating his words.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers is something.
Quinn Ewers is not a bum, Don. He's not a bum. I'm telling you. Right. He could come to East Lansing. if Quinn Ewers wants to drive to the 517, he could start for us first game. And I don't dislike Peyton Thorne. I'm just saying, he's welcome to call 517 and have a job tomorrow. We'll give him a bag of money too.
Hey, Don, how's the roads up there in Oklahoma?
Don doesn't drive in Oklahoma. What the hell are you talking about?
I haven't been to Oklahoma in a while, James.
And we don't talk about that time because the statute of limitations has expired.
Well, no, that was when his nephew was playing too. He was playing there, right?
Oh, he had to go to Oklahoma. Don didn't choose to go to Oklahoma. He would go for a family member. He loves his family. Don didn't go to Oklahoma because he wanted to. We all know that.
And you know they had a couple of guys that see Mason Rudolph and the other guy that was riding the pine for the Steelers.
We're just making this a Steeler program all of a sudden. Okay.
Well,
we're going to talk about the coaches, and the Colts quarterback, and the Colts draft.
No, before we get to that, Don, you know, I want you to start off this session because did Lovie Smith give the Texans front office a big fuck you on the way out the door?
So, Lovie Smith's situation, I'm not real familiar. I know that they released him. I don't know what his reaction was, but
the reaction
it's before that. It's before that, right? They scored a touchdown late in the game. Then he went for two to win the game and cost them the number 1 pick. That's what we're talking about. Right. That's what it is. And promptly got fired. They didn't even wait till Monday. They did it Sunday night. They didn't even wait.
Right after the game was over.
After the game. So I guess the question is, if he knew he was going to get fired anyway, did he purposely do that? That's a Michael Jordan level pettiness that I have to respect, man. I have to respect it if that's what he did.
Yeah. I think.
I mean, come on, Don. He went for 2.
You're not going to playoffs. Why not go for the win? Because you're competitive. You don't want to.
Right. I think that's what it is. I mean, ultimately, I think how do you teach a guy to be bad? Right. He's worked really hard. Those players have worked hard. They're wired to try and win. Now, my guess is the players loved him for it. I mean, for a couple of hours until he got fired. But I don't know how you tell a guy, I need you to go lose. That's why I never buy the tanking argument. I don't think tanking is a real thing. Those guys are at the top of their profession. They're the best of the best, coaches and players. How do you tell a guy, hit a switch and go be a loser? I wouldn't be at this level if I had a switch I could hit and be a loser.
Right. I've seen tanking more probably in basketball than you'll ever see in football.
And it's never worked. It doesn't work in basketball either. Fundamentally, it's a loser concept. You develop a culture of losing. It's a loser concept. And it's never worked. Despite what people want to talk about the 76ers or whatever, tanking has never worked. Yeah, I don't know the example where tanking worked.
Like you say.
How many years in a row did Cleveland Browns have the number 1 pick? I mean, they were.
Look at the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, come on.
3 or 4.
See, I don't think they were tanking. I think those teams just sucked. I think they were just bad. Like we were bad for years. We weren't tanking. We just sucked. I'm sorry. Tanking doesn't work.
Well, Cincinnati had a team that had, I think it had 10 number 1 draft picks.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even get a winning season.
Yep. Because you still have to have a good GM to manage your cap. You still have to have a good coach who can teach players.
Right. Right. You
still need Mike Tomlin at the end of the day. Right. The Steelers don't tank because they got Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin can't even say the word tank. He probably doesn't know how to spell that word. So you don't do it.
Demetrius, I'm still eating a bowl of.
I was sucking up to you, man. I was sucking up to you right there.
I know, but I was still eating. Like you said, I'm not one that runs away.
Giant plate of crow. You talk crap.
I said that we, 10-7 was, a successful season, and damn it, if we don't once again come out with a 9-8 season, something that I bought a bottle of Asti Spumante. A lot of people probably don't even know what that is.
I do. We're all old enough to know what Asti Spumante is.
Yeah, it was a little one. But I celebrated. I celebrated. Yes, I did. But Mike, we're way off subject here. But what did you think about the Lovie Smith situation? I mean, like we say, he called the Chicago Bears now at the first pick of the draft due to him going for 2 and winning that game. Now that's not to say it's all his fault. The other team still could have won the.
Well, yeah, I watched the game. I saw the Colts lose again. Yeah, no, I think
I didn't mention who the other team was, Mike.
Yeah, I definitely think that he didn't care. He was just like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna win this game, and I think he knew he was probably going to get fired.
Yeah.
Not saying he deserved to get fired. I just think he knew, and it's just like, you know what? I'm not going to go out like this. I'm not going to go out, just pretending. I'm just going to go out and say, hey, look let's win this fucking game, and whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to be here next year, so what do I care? And I think that's the right attitude to take. I really do. I would do the same thing. I would be like, you know what? I want to win. I don't have anything writing on this. I want to win, and he did.
He's going to look for another job. He's going to interview for another job, and people who are thinking about hiring him as a coach,
he's not going to look for another job. Another job is already looking for him.
Well, I know, and what I'm saying is what Mike's talking about. When you're in the interview, like on your resume, that's what that looks. No, I didn't tank. We tried to win the game because you got to win the game. That's going to do him well, personally and professionally, no matter what. And at the end of the day, I think if you've ever been fired and you're honest, you knew you were getting fired. When I got fired, I knew. I was surprised it took so long.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I knew it was coming. I knew I didn't want to be there anymore. I knew what I did. Right. So you're never surprised. Very few surprise firings. You kind of know. And I think he's going to land on his feet because he's a damn good football coach. And whether it's a college job or a pro DC, somebody somewhere is going to call him. He's going to get your proverbial Rooney Rule calls anyway. So he might actually land one of those, maybe. Who knows? Oh, sorry, I digressed on that. We'll do that another night. I hate that rule so much. I hate it so much.
It's ridiculous, especially since the owners don't even pay attention to it.
It's not useful. It's not doing anybody any favors, but we'll save that for another day.
Oh man, maybe we'll make that a lottery. Who gets the job first, him, Lovie Smith, or Eric Bieniemy?
Oh, I got Lovie Smith. Eric Bieniemy is not getting it. My feeling is he's a crappy interviewer. He's got to be a crappy interviewer, right?
There's got to be something there.
Something's there.
At different times, if you've watched, if you're a follower, almost everybody who's come on has said it's the same thing. He has to be a crappy interviewer. He has to be. I mean,
it's got to be something.
He certainly has the credentials. I mean, who would interview that would have more Super Bowl rings than him? Yeah. But anyway, we digress. And Mike, since you brought it up, what's up? What's going on with the Colts, man? We kind of talked about Saturday, and I think he blew his chances of coming back.
Yeah,
So I mean,
he didn't want that job.
I mean,
he didn't want that job before.
Well, he was a cheerleader that they threw into, that they kind of threw into the mix and said, hey, if it was kind of like, let's throw it on the wall. If it sticks, good. If it doesn't, then we always got next year. But
exactly,
Mike, what the hell's going on with the
What's
Colts,
the plan,
man?
Mike? What's the plan, bro?
The first thing is they're going to need to get a head coach. And I'm crossing fingers, hoping it's Harbaugh. But because I'd hate to see Harbaugh leave and go to another pro team. That would just be like double whammy. Yeah, that would be hard. But yeah, head coach, and then we'll see who the quarterback is. They're going to draft a quarterback for sure, probably with the fourth pick, and see how that, if they jump up over Chicago. Chicago's willing to trade down a little bit because they don't need a quarterback because they have Justin Fields. So they're in a great position. Chicago's in a great position. So I think something to that effect. We'll see. But Ballard said he would not be surprised if they don't draft a quarterback, which was kind of surprising to me because what are they going to have? Matt Ryan? I mean, maybe Derek Carr. I don't know, but do they really want to do that again?
They're so good at it, Mike. They're so good at it. I did a whole rant last week about Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers and Carson Wentz. I did the whole thing.
Baker's still out there, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Let's go with Baker Mayfield. Yeah.
What about this idea? What if Chicago falls in love with Bryce Young and they're willing to trade Justin Fields?
I would love that.
You're getting ahead of yourself again.
Oh, sorry. I didn't read the whole plan. My bad. My bad. I didn't read the whole thing.
That's not this week. That's the future.
Okay, that's for the future. I would. Yeah. But I think the Colts are in a good spot. But Mike's right. First, figure out who you want to be, and stop letting Jim Irsay be the face of your organization. Get if it's Ballard, it's Ballard. Cool, but hire a coach that sort of defines what you want to be, and then get your quarterback. Now, to me, Will Levis is going to be a good NFL quarterback, and Will Levis will be on the board at 4. I don't think you guys need to do anything fancy. I think Will Levis is going to be a solid NFL quarterback. And like I said, I think you'll get him at 4. If you like Stroud, fine. He might be there at 4 because Carter and Anderson have to go. I pray one of them is sitting on the board at 6, but I do not believe it. That would be just my perfect scenario.
Oh, man. Can you imagine Jalen Carter and Aiden Hutchinson?
Right? Exactly. Let Stroud and Levis and Anderson and Young go and somehow let Carter be sitting on the board at 6. Sorry, totally derailing the podcast.
I think that's okay because since you jumped on out there,
I'm playing catch up for 6 months, man. I got so much shit bottled up. I'm still unloading. My team went 9-8. I got so much to unload. It's crazy.
Well, okay. Let's talk about Aaron relaxing.
Right.
Before the playoffs, as the Lions eliminate the Packers from the playoffs, and Jamal Williams is NFC Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week. So Demetrius, boy, I hate Mr. Thomas. Scott isn't here.
Scott's not here. Scott doesn't want any of this smoke, man. Scott doesn't want none of this smoke.
Under the bed, I'm looking everywhere.
Scott don't want none of this.
I didn't send out smoke signals and email. But anyway, so I had eaten a lot of crow, but aren't you guys a little ahead of schedule?
Definitely ahead of schedule, and I think that I would like to take the rest of the podcast and do it, but I'm going to respect these guys, right, and do a quick version of this. My feeling now about the league is changed, right? The position that you've got to get right, whatever you want to call the guy, GM, president of player personnel, that's the position you got to get right. And I could go back and tell you guys about all the GMs the Lions have had for the last 50-something years. I did a whole podcast, and it's not that many. Russ Thomas, Chuck Schmidt, Matt Millen, Martin Mayhew, and Bob Quinn. 5 dudes. We have never gotten that position right until now. His name's Brad Holmes. I said last week, I hope he's got a spot on his mantle cleared out because there's an Executive of the Year award coming his way. Our draft, and I haven't looked at anybody else's draft. We drafted 8 players. 6 of them are contributors. We got a starting linebacker in the 6th round. We got a dude with 8 sacks in the 6th round. He only played 6 games. 8 sacks in 6 games. We got him in the 6th round. His name is James Houston, right? Our 6th round safety, Kirby Joseph, picked off Aaron Rodgers 3 times. Actually 4. One of them got called back for a penalty. Twice in each game. He's a ball hawking safety. Aiden Hutchinson should be Defensive Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Sauce Gardner's a good player, whatever. Aiden Hutchinson impacts the game. He impacts the game. Our 3rd round pick missed a bunch of time with injury, but he's going to be a stud. I mean, Brad Holmes nailed the 2022 draft. I'm not even going back to Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best receivers in the league that he got in the 5th round last year.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about that. And guess what? We got 5 of the top 85 picks. The Lions simply put are set up for sustainable success for 3 to 5 years. We've got a 28-year-old quarterback that everybody slept on with 2 years left on his contract at a manageable number. We've got Jamal is a better dude than he is a player. and he rushed for 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns. If you guys didn't watch Hard Knocks, go to Lions.com. There's all these videos. Every team needs a Jamal Williams in their locker room, and I will be pissed if they don't re-sign him. Strictly for what he does in the locker room. Jamal Williams is the best. He is literally my favorite Detroit Lion right now. Literally, my favorite Detroit Lion. He's an awesome dude. They're in a great position. It's a year early, but that's cool. It's cool. The Rams didn't do what they were supposed to do because the 49ers would not want any of that smoke. We were 8-2 in our last 10, and there are teams thanking God we're not in the playoffs because we are a tough team to play. I'm not saying we beat everybody. I'm saying we would have been a tough out, and we got cap space and really good draft capital to take another step next year. I'm excited about what next year is going to be, and I got some other things to say in my final thoughts because that's all about the Lions too. But I like where we are. My hashtag on my podcast is "We might be a problem." I'm just letting everybody else know. Hashtag we might be a problem. We're going to be the trendy pick to win the North next year because we are. Because the Vikings are a fraud, and Mr. Scott knows that. That's why his ass is on this podcast. They're a fraud. They're a fraud. The Packers Sunday night were 2 elevators traveling. The Packer elevator was going down. The Lion elevator is going up, and we passed their ass Sunday night in Lambeau. We blew right past them. Obviously, I like where we are. Jamal is I can't say enough good things. I won't do a whole thing. Jamal Williams is the kind of dude you want on your team. Great player, a really, really good player, an even better dude. Jamal Williams is awesome. Love Jamal Williams. So yeah, I like where we are. Obviously, we're in a great spot.
Yeah. Well, you said you were going to be obnoxious if
I told you guys. When we get good, I'm going to be an asshole.
You gave us a warning last week, didn't you, Don? So
you did.
I said we were going to beat him. I said it was going to be fun, and I said I was going to be an a-hole this week.
And just for the record, I watched the game, and I was cheering for Detroit because you had about Rodgers. I was cheering for Detroit. And in my mind, I said, somewhere in Michigan, Demetrius is a happy man.
Yeah, happy the whole night. And I believe, bold prediction, that's the last time you see Aaron Rodgers on the football field. Yeah. I think we just sent his ass packing into retirement. He's going to go put on a corduroy suit and sit in the jungle somewhere, fucking feed animals. I don't know what he does, but I don't ever want to see him in a corduroy suit again. I know that. Right, exactly. That's what it's about.
I think with the points last week, I don't really remember, but I know Demetrius took Detroit automatically. But I think Don, I'm not. I'd have to go back and look, but I think we both took the points.
Yeah, I was. Rarely do I pick, unless they're playing the Texans. Rarely will I pick Green Bay. Yeah. That's playing a team that's just god awful shit.
Yeah. Don, we talked about this a little while ago. I don't know. You might not have got on. You might have been doing some of your high school officiating, but we had talked about Sean McVay possibly taking the job, the Thursday night job, as a prime time analyst for Thursday night football, and getting that money from Amazon. So, Don, when you look at what how far the Rams fell this year, and Sean McVay has given his staff permission to seek other jobs. I think one of them already has a job. Is it Kentucky or somewhere?
Yeah.
So, John, is Sean headed to prime for that Thursday night job, or do you think he'll still be coaching in the NFL next year? Maybe not necessarily for the Rams, but still coaching.
So when you win a Super Bowl, that should give you a 3-year window.
Supposed to, yeah.
Supposed to, yes. I like McVay. I think he's a great coach. There's a guy named Kingsbury who's available to be an OC, offensive coordinator. Who sometimes you're a good position coach. You can be a great coordinator, and you just don't cut as a head coach. Kingsbury has shown that he can't be a successful head coach at the college level or the pro level, but I think he's a great coach position-wise or a coordinator. So I'd like to be interested to see him if McVay would interview him and take him on. But if not, hey, Amazon. It's owned by Jeff Bezos. He's I think the third richest man in the world, so he can pay those bills.
Get that money. Get that money, man.
Yeah. Anytime you start talking, about the top 25, let alone the top 2 or 3, but Mike, what's your thoughts on that? Is McVay going to be on Thursday night, or is he going to be coaching?
Yeah, I think he talking about retirement.
There's a vacancy in Indianapolis, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if McVay went to Indianapolis, I'd take it in a second. But I think you'll see him in the booth. I think he wanted to retire last year and then came back, and I think he's done. And maybe not done coaching per se, but at least for one season, he'll be in the booth, and then he'll get the itch to coach again, and then come back. But yeah, I don't see him on the sidelines.
What do you think, Demetrius?
I think that that's a hard job, right? I mean, it takes you away from your family. It takes a lot of time, a lot of commitment. And if somebody throws a large sack of bills at you and says, I just want you to sit around and talk about it, right? And the money is even remotely comparable. If he can make millions, which I imagine he will, they're going to sign him to something guaranteed, long-term, lot of money. And he can work probably 4 days a week, right? The stress level, being with your family, he's still a young guy. That's a secure type of bag that you get for that TV money. Now, I agree with Mike, though. So my feeling is this is how it plays out. He don't want to coach the Rams anymore. He sees the train. He sees the salary cap situation. He sees his quarterback situation. And he doesn't want to coach the Rams anymore. So I think he'll leave, go do the prime thing, maybe a year, maybe 2, but something inside him. He's a coach. Those guys are wired. Don knows this. They're wired differently. Don's a coach. He does podcasts and other crap. Don's a coach. Don probably gets a different kind of joy from coaching the game of football because he loves it. They're different kinds of people. They're wired differently. He will be back on the sideline. It won't be at SoFi. Indy actually wouldn't be a bad job for him because if they got the quarterback, right, with the 4th pick, you still have the best running back when he's healthy in the league. You drop right in, that's an offense that could be dynamic tomorrow. Pittman's not a joke. If you got any cap space, you can sign somebody else or draft a receiver in the 2nd round. You instantly have one of the better offenses in the league, right? And if with his play calling, there are jobs out there.
Demetrius, do you know the area code for San Francisco? There's some guy named McCaffrey on the line that wants to talk to you.
Nice.
I'm not sure.
Whatever. In 2023, if Jonathan Taylor is healthy, Christian McCaffrey should sit down and eat his Cheerios. Ain't nobody trying to talk to you right now. No. Jonathan Taylor is a difference-making back when he's healthy. We all know. I don't need to suck up to Mike. Me and Mike are cool. But that's just true. It's like until Bijan is in Detroit next year, Jonathan Taylor's when Bijan gets drafted by the Lions next year, and then we got him and Jamal and Swift, and we got this 3-headed monster. Yeah, no, but I think there are jobs that will appeal to him. He might just need a year off. He might need a break. Mostly, I think he wants out of LA. He probably wants to at least see what does it look like doing TV, his schedule wise. What does that look like? But I feel like Mike's right. At some point, he'll just be like, you know what? This is cool, but I'm a coach. I need to go coach. And he'll be back in the league. So my guess is a year off, he'll do the Sean Payton thing. Sean Payton will have a job. And he'll do this. That's a lot of guys do that. They think that looks good. They do it and they realize they miss the film sessions. They miss getting up at 4 a.m. so that they can eat a bagel and watch film, that crazy stuff. Like Don's like, I like watching film. That's what they do. They love it. That's what they do. So, but he's a good coach and he'll find a spot. A spot will find him, as you say.
Don also mentioned Kingsbury, and we do know that Kingsbury is out in Arizona, Demetrius. And Kyler is supposed to have more substantial input in the next hiring. Is Kyler kind of becoming more Aaron Rodgers-like?
Yeah. So I don't tend to trend toward hyperbole. I don't generally make these really hyper. This is the dumbest thing I've heard of in my life. Kyler doesn't know his playbook. How you letting him pick the coach? This is not a good idea. So on the Kingsbury piece, Don already covered it. Kingsbury is going to be a really good OC for somebody. That's going to be a great fit for him. He'll probably ultimately get another NFL job. He will excel as an OC for somebody. That's my feeling. In terms of letting Kyler Murray have any input into picking the coach is idiotic, right? That is not what you do. That's a recipe for disaster. That's not his job. He's not qualified, right? There are people working that building. Maybe it's Keim. Wait, Keim left though. I don't know. Whoever the new GM is, go get your GM. Go get a really good GM and let the GM pick the coach because that's that guy's job. That's not Kyler's job. Kyler's not qualified for it. And if you do that, you are telling everybody what kind of organization you are. And players won't want to come and play there because now you have stamped Kyler Murray as a D. You have stamped him as a, and guys don't want to play with that. Guys don't want to play with that. Right? It's just a bad idea. He's not equipped to understand what it takes to hire a coach. That's not his job. He's not qualified. That's a horrible idea. It's a horrible message. And you're going to end up with a bad coach, and you'll be doing this again in 2 years.
Don, what's your thoughts?
Well, to me, the only professional athlete I could think of that could actually pick the coach would be a guy named Michael Jordan. Yeah, you're right about Kyler Murray. He has no business, making those decisions. But I think there's ample talent in Arizona for them to make a run for the playoffs this year. But they're going to have to find the right guy. I don't know who that person will be, but they might have to make some additions through free agency, the draft. But I think there's a base that you can build on in Arizona. But again, you're going to have to bring in someone that can deal with the different personalities. Looking at you, Kyler Murray. Yeah.
There's a talent pool of coaches that are out there. Sean Payton's out there. Sean McVay might be available. You know what? I'm going to go way off script because I happen to love the guy. Jim Caldwell is a good football coach. Jim Caldwell is a very, very good football coach. And you know what else he is? He's a grown-ass man. And he knows how to relate to grown men and teach grown men how to be accountable. If I was Arizona, and he's older, and I don't know how much he still wants to coach, I would make a call to Jim Caldwell. I really would.
How about Eric Bieniemy with Kyler Murray?
Oh, wow.
Might not. I mean, Eric Bieniemy can't interview, so it doesn't matter. Once he interviewed, he can.
Yeah. The thing of it is, to me, is when a quarterback tells you that he doesn't know the playbook.
Yeah.
The line stops right there.
Right.
Maybe if you can tell me on what play is on page 370, because this is an NFL playbook, that maybe we'll let you talk to the offensive coordinator,
right, or the quarterback's coach.
but until you know that playbook,
right,
no, that deal.
Yeah.
So let me finish off my bowl of crow here. The Steelers finished 9-8 in spite of a lot of pundits picking the Steelers to be even lower than my 7-10. I will admit, that there were some injuries that helped us as far as the Ravens were concerned. But when you look at the overall pictures of the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, that never say die attitude, I'm not saying that I'm satisfied with the quarterback position and the future of the quarterback position right now, putting it all in Pickett's hands. But I like, the idea of the Pickens to Pickett combination. And I think we're going to hear that for a while. We do have some pieces in place. Of course, we're all going to have to play defense. And, that conference, Joe Burrows, Lamar Jackson, we have to solidify quarterback, but we had the pieces in place. So I'm kind of like Demetrius. I want to see what's happening, next year, year after next, and I want to, instead of the Ravens, the Ratbirds, and the Bungles in there, I want one of those names to be the Steelers, of course. Don, Mike, you study all the draft choices and the trades and this and that. So I'm going to come to you with this because the Ratbirds they paid Raquan Smith, and they agreed to give him a 5-year extension and $100 million. Don, are the Ratbirds sending Lamar a message along with that, franchise tag?
Yeah, well, yeah, very possibly. I mean, that's a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah, that's kind of contract I could live with. Yeah, so
that's an extension.
Yes.
Well, yeah, he was up at the end of the year though, so
yeah,
it's fine when they traded for him. I think it's obvious, right? This is a math problem, and Lamar has an agent. His agent is familiar with the cap. A lot of guys are familiar with the NFL salary cap.
But his agent is his mother. Is she really?
Oh, great question. Sorry, I might have overstepped. She might. No, I imagine both her and Lamar are familiar with the Ravens cap situation. And quite frankly, when you sign Roquan to this deal, you have effectively said one of two things: we intend to let you go explore free agency, or we intend to franchise you. Right. One of those two things. So the leverage play that he tried to do didn't work because they could have given him the extension he wants, and instead they gave to Roquan, a guy who's been in their building half a year. I think it's got it maybe at the beginning of the year or middle of the year from the Bears,
Mike,
right?
Yeah, he came over from the Bears, right, Mike?
Yep, exactly.
And they drafted Lamar, and they let him play on the last year of his contract, right? I don't even think there's confusion. I think the Ratbirds are saying goodbye to Lamar. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays in another jersey. Franchise tag is a slippery slope. No team really wants to do it. It is detrimental to your team cap-wise to do it because you just have to unload so much money. And when Mahomes and Rodgers signed their deal, the cap number 4 quarterback became ridiculous.
Yep.
If they do it, they can only do it once. So it's a signal we're letting you go next year.
Right.
I don't think it's,
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to turn to any verse in the Bible to see the handwriting on that wall.
Well, I don't know that they're wrong, by the way. I'm not suggesting they're wrong because he is apparently holding firm on I want fully guaranteed. Because your boys, the clowns, messed it up for everybody.
Right.
The clowns gave Deshaun fully guaranteed 230. Now everybody wants fully guaranteed.
Right.
And guess what? Every team can't do that.
Of course,
every team can do that. And the clowns are regretting it already, quite frankly.
Well, and as I said, like you don't know. Even before he signs, he has to get someone that's notably a legal agent before he can even sign. His mother can only negotiate. She can't sign. It's easy if you have the leverage. It's not easy when you don't have the leverage.
Well, I'm on record saying he handled this all wrong. I'm on record saying it was too risky to play the last year of your contract. I'm on record saying he should have worked out something last year. I think Bisciotti's not a billionaire by luck, and I think the Ratbirds at some point decided we don't want to play these games. And now what he's doing with this injury, which we can do that another time. I think they're done. I think they're done with each other, and I don't know if either party really cares that much about it. I think he's fine moving on to another organization. We don't want him in Detroit. We got our quarterback. Gratuitous Lions mention. It has nothing to do with any of this, but I think he won't be a Raven next year anyway. Now with this contract, to your point, it's got to be a franchise tag. I don't think they can sign him to anything close to what he wants after what they just gave Roquan. It's a math problem, and they can't do it.
And not only that, but like you say, it's a math problem because not only do I don't think that we can afford him, but I also don't think that the Ratbirds would let him go within the division.
You guys don't need him. You guys got your quarterback.
No,
Stop it.
yeah.
Stop it. Stop it. I'm gonna call Mike
hey.
Tomlin, man. Stop it.
Hey,
You're fine. You're fine. You don't need him. Somebody's gonna give him guaranteed 231.5.
No,
Somebody.
I don't think he'll ever get more than probably 1.75 million as a guarantee. I don't think anybody.
Wait, what?
I don't think anybody will give any quarterback 230 million guaranteed again.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't think so. I think they will. Somebody, he's gonna want 231, whatever, and $1, 230 and $1, whatever Deshaun Watson got plus $1, because he believes he's a better quarterback. And there's an argument that he might be. I think it's gonna take somebody.
He turned down 215.
Wasn't fully guaranteed though. But I think only 180 or something was guaranteed.
That's why I went back to the 175.
You're right.
Because I don't.
But the clowns messed it up for everybody. The clowns messed it up for everybody, man. This is the new hotness now. I want fully guaranteed.
There's a reason why I call them the clowns more than just the fact that I, have a great, passionate feeling for the city. But anyway, that's okay. So let's talk the playoffs and
real quick.
Go ahead.
Someone mentioned Demetrius said that Aaron Rodgers had played his last game in Green Bay. Maybe Lamar ends up
in Green Bay. Yeah. I'm curious, Mike. What if Lamar was in Indy? Would you be interested in that?
Yeah, I would love to have Lamar in Indy.
Would you give him 231, get fully guaranteed to do it?
No. I would. No. I would be so frustrated with that contract. No way.
And Green Bay may sound good, Don, but what about Jordan? All that money you gave Jordan Love?
They didn't give Jordan Love a lot of money. Jordan Love was what, late first? He's on a rookie deal. He's on
a rookie deal, but are they? As I think we asked week before last, maybe I'm not sure. You might not have been on that conversation, but are the Packers ready to move off Jordan Love if they keep Aaron Rodgers or vice versa?
No. If the asshole moves on, whether he retires or goes to another team, you got $51 million a year in cap space.
There you go.
So to Don's point, that's one of the few teams that could do it. Because if he retires, they get all that cap space back. They don't have to do anything. Right now, if they trade him to someone, it's going to be tricky. And I'm sure Las Vegas might make the phone call, whatever. But if he who shall not be named is gone, that is a boatload of cap space available. And that's how somebody could pay Lamar.
Well, isn't that guaranteed money?
What? Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
But cap is different. They still have to pay him his money. Even if he retires, there's a clause where they got to pay him some percentage of that.
Yeah.
But their cap, the $51 million that's on their cap for him, if he retires, they get that cap space back. I think they get literally all of it, by the way.
Okay.
If it's his choice.
Don, since you opened up this can of worms, we might as well keep on going. Do you believe what Jerry's saying, Don, that, McCartney is still going to be all right, regardless of the outcome of this Cowboys game? Because I think that if the Bucks beat the Cowboys, McCartney might get the call quicker than Lovey. But what's your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, Jerry Jones fired Jimmy Johnson, and he won 2 Super Bowls for him. So that crazy fool, you never know what's going to happen. But I don't think the Cowboys have one thing that sure they usually follow up a crappy game with a great game, and they couldn't play any worse than they did last week. So I expect the Cowboys to rebound and do real well against the Bucks. So that doesn't mean that coaches won't get fired, but I just think they might have to wait a week.
What's your thoughts on that, Mike? Tom Brady is 3-0 against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll get terminated, but I think there's going to be a lot of turmoil if they lose this game. I don't know how they can lose to a Giants team, but if they do, it's going to be they're going to call for his head.
The Cowboys are playing the Bucks, aren't they?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Bucks. Yeah, I don't know why I said the Giants. So yeah, they'll definitely be calling for him to be fired, but the Jerry Jones isn't so much anybody that listens to what the fans want or care.
He doesn't care. Yeah. I think they'll beat the Bucks. I think Dallas is a team, quite frankly. But see, Dallas is simple. If their quarterback plays well, they're a tough out. They're a tough out if their quarterback plays well. Yeah. I'm not sure I picked them to win a game in Philadelphia or San Francisco, quite frankly. I think they can win in Tampa because I think Tampa is an absolute fraud. Yeah, right. And if the Lions were in that division, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. They're an absolute fraud. So I think they win this week. But to Don's point, they could blow out Tampa, lose by a field goal in San Francisco, and Jerry will fire him anyway. Jerry doesn't care. Jerry doesn't care. Right. He's going to do what he wants. If he thinks there's something he can do to make his team better, he'll do it. Mm-hmm. And he won't apologize. And he doesn't have to. And I'm not a fan of that team, but I don't mind the way that guy runs his business because he's unapologetic. He'll get on the radio and say, yeah, I did it. What are you going to do about it? Right. And but he's been that way from day one. Right. Yep. So I think they beat Tampa and but then, they got to go on the road to a much better team after that. Even if I pick them against Minnesota because Minnesota's supremely fraudulent, by the way.
Well,
very fraudulent.
Okay. Then we'll eliminate the Vikings.
You're willing to talk about them. Yeah. Scott doesn't show up. We don't talk about the Vikings.
Well, but we will acknowledge that Justin Jefferson had a great season. Became the youngest member at the age of 23 to lead the league in catches and yards. So we will acknowledge that. They do have a great wide receiver.
I'm not acknowledging shit. The Vikings are a fraud. I ain't acknowledging anything. I haven't said anything.
The Vikings might be a fraud, but Jefferson.
Okay. They will be looking up at us next year. They will be. They won on a lucky play in Minnesota, and we smoked them in Detroit. They're frauds.
But the point is, Jefferson he'll still have his 12 to 1,500 yards.
Right, and he had 12 catches for $190 against us, and we still won the game. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it still doesn't change who's throwing him the ball. We're just acknowledging Jefferson.
Right.
Okay, so let's go on. We'll talk about the Ratbirds here because they're going to be facing the Bungles without, right as of now, unless things change, without Lamar Jackson. Can the Ratbirds beat the Bungles without Lamar? And do you think whether they win or lose, Lamar might be playing his last game in a Ratbirds uniform, or, as I said, performing under the franchise tag? What do you think, Demetrius?
So yes, he's playing his last game as a Ratbird, as you like to call him. I have two good friends that are both Bengals fans, and that's not the thing. I just think that they've got weapons, man. Joe Burrow is real deal. He's a real deal. And they've got Mixon, who's quietly a really solid running back. And I forgot the other guy that bounces back. P. Ryan. There he is. And then if you think about Chase, Boyd, Higgins, is there a better three-headed receiving guy? Miami might have something good there. I don't know. But they can play. And when Burrow's playing well, they're tough out. The AFC is just tough. And the Ratbirds are at best fifth best team in the AFC. I don't know. I think I take Buffalo over them. I'm pretty sure I take Kansas City over them. I think I certainly take the Bengals over them. And even though the Lions beat them pretty handily, Jacksonville is playing good football right now. They're playing
Bills.
Good.
What about the Bills?
I said the Bills. I thought I said the Bills, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bills, Chiefs. Yeah, Bills, Chiefs, Bengals. And I just like the way Jacksonville's playing right now. I got high on Doug Peterson all of a sudden. Because, like I said, we beat them about a month ago pretty handily in Detroit. Since then, they're playing as well as anybody in the league. They're playing complementary football. They're not blowing anybody out necessarily, but they just are. They don't go away, and I like that in the team. They're to me the AFC version of the Lions, and I would pick them head to head against the Ratbirds right now. I'd take Jacksonville. So at best, I think they might be the 4th best team in the AFC. So, and to answer your other question, yeah, I think Lamar's done. Like I made it clear that I think Lamar's done. The franchise tag is a bad idea. It's a slippery slope. I would not do it. If you thought he was your guy, you would have gave him the bag last year. I think the fact that you didn't give it to him and you let him play on his final year, knowing this kind of crap they're doing right now of him is like, nobody knows if he's going to play. Nobody knows how bad his knee is. He doesn't have an age. Nobody wants all that drama. You would have took care of this last year if he was your guy. You don't let it get to this. Not in this league. You just don't do it. Teams don't do it. I mean, the former Redskin football commander dudes did it with Kirk Cousins, and it cost them. Wow, did it cost him? He made more money than any player in league history over a 3-year stretch, I believe, because of the franchise tag. You don't want to do that.
I think they're still paying them.
They might be. They might be.
I think the Commanders are still paying them. I mean, Kirk Cousins, I think, deal is second only to whose deal was that in baseball? That was
probably.
You're thinking of Bobby Bonilla?
Yeah.
Because the Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla today.
Right.
Yeah. So
I just think in this league, if you believe in your quarterback, you don't let him get to his last year. And the franchise tag as designed, as they wrote it into the CBA, was designed to be punitive. It was designed to be this last resort. God, we don't want to do this, but we don't have another choice. And I just think real teams, good teams, don't ever get there. Real teams don't use their franchise tag. Good teams don't use it because you handle your business.
What's your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, I think they're going to franchise tag him and see what he does next year. If he performs like he did this year or gets injured or whatever, adios. They'll give him one shot and that's it. And if he comes back and he plays great, he plays somewhere near that 2019 season, then they'll sign him for 3 or 4 years. But I agree with Demetrius. It doesn't look good at all. It doesn't look good.
Mike, the Seahawks free safety, Quandre Diggs, was named the NFC Defensive Player of the Year. The 49ers quarterback.
Of the year? No.
Of the week.
I was saying, what?
Wow.
What the hell? Okay, yeah. All right. Good.
Well, if he wins this game, he gets to the Super Bowl. We'll see. But anyway, Brock Purdy seems to be very comfortable and confident as the 49ers quarterback. So, Mike, are the 49ers the team that you would least want to meet in these playoffs right now?
I think overall their defense is the best in the NFL. They have a great running back in Christian McCaffrey, and Brock Purdy takes very well care of the ball and doesn't make overwhelming mistakes. But I think they lose to Seattle in an upset.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. You heard it. All right. Well, I guess
Mike's stepping right out there.
I'm right there.
Thelma and Louise drive right off the cliff. Okay. Wow.
Don, are you giving Mike the wheel or are you giving him a breathalyzer?
Kick his ass out the car.
Yeah, give him the breathalyzer.
I'll eat that crow next week if that's what it is. You know what? Stranger things have probably happened. I don't know. That's 9.5. Now, if you're asking me against the points, I take the 9.5. Oh, sorry. All right. I told you I'm excited, man. The Lions are good. I don't know what to do with myself.
You go ahead, Don.
After you give Mike the breathalyzer, what do you think about the game? What do you think of it?
What do you think about the what?
The game, the 49ers versus
the Seahawks.
The Seahawks.
I like the 49ers. I mean, they're on a whole different level right now, I think. It doesn't matter who they put in quarterback. They're just something. And I think Shanahan's done a great job there. So I had to throw my money in with the Niners.
Yeah, and before Mike drank the gallon of whiskey and drove off the cliff, he said something really, really smart and important. The 49ers have the best defense in the National Football League.
Oh, yeah.
Full stop. That's the answer to your question. Yes, because defense travels. It won't matter if it's inside or outside, cold or not. They get after the quarterback. They play good defense. So yeah, I think that Brock Purdy just does his job. Because like I said, Mike was talking real sense until something happened. I don't know if the dog bit his ankle or what happened. But Brock Purdy takes care of the football. Don supplemented it with Shanahan understands play calling, and they got the best defense in the league. So I'm not sure what happened. Where's the cat? I don't know where the cat is. So let's identify where Mike's cat. No, Mike's cat. We got to find where Mike's cat is. Something's going on. Yeah.
Are you saying that Mike got in the catnip box and said the cat?
I think the cat's nibbling at his ankles and he wasn't focused or something.
Okay, well, let's try another one, Mike. And I'll
try another one.
No drink. No drinking.
Yeah, okay. True or false? See, we'll make it real easy. Okay. Chargers head coach Brandon Staley will be fired if the Chargers lose to the Jaguars.
I'd say false. They should have gone to the playoffs last year. I mean, he made that big mistake by calling that timeout against the Raiders, but they got to the playoffs this year, so there was improvement. I'm going to say false.
What do you say, Don?
I'll say false.
Easy. Make it unanimous. That's another team that's better than the Ratbirds, by the way. I forgot them.
Yeah, I agree.
They got their quarterback. He's fine. He's fine. They're on the right trajectory.
Demetrius, one anonymous AFC player. Well, I'm saying one because it says "and," so to me that means singular, which means one. Anonymous AFC player calls the Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow the best fourth quarter quarterback in the NFL. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. His name is Jared Goff. No, I'm kidding. He is good. There's a guy in Kansas City that's pretty good. He plays in all quarters. He plays pretty well. There's a dude in Buffalo that plays pretty well in all quarters. I'm just saying my answer. I disagree.
We're just talking about the fourth quarter.
Just the fourth quarter. If you're telling me tie game, you're about to start the fourth quarter. Who do you want? He's down my list. Because I think great players play well in all quarters. I don't see a drop-off in Patrick Mahomes is working the fourth or Josh Allen. Quite frankly, I can make a case for Justin Herbert. I can make a case for Jalen Hurts. I can make a case for Jared Goff. I can say, who's that? Tom Brady. Right. You can make a case. So I disagree with this. And that's not meant to put Joe Burrow down. Is he in a group? Sure. But if you ask me to make a list, he might come in at 5. I would take Brady. I might take the asshole in Green Bay because he does some really good work, right? Because I'm that dude and I want to drive off a cliff like Mike, I might take Jared Goff because I've seen every play he played this year and we're sleeping on Jared Goff, but that's okay. No, truthfully, top 5, sure. But I know I'm taking Allen and Mahomes without question. And then I'll have conversations about guys like Herbert and Brady and he who shall not be named.
Don, is Burrow the best fourth quarter quarterback in the NFL?
No. I just said Brady. I take Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes. I mean, hell, he's still young, but I'd probably take Brock Purdy. Hell. now, Burrow's. I mean, I love Burrow. I loved him since college, but to say he's the best fourth quarter. Ask me that question in about five more years. No, I'll have better. But with what he's competing against, I mean, Tom Brady just did it last week, didn't he? I mean,
yeah. And what's even the metric? How are you measuring that? Comebacks?
Yeah.
I don't know how you're measuring that. Because if you're talking comebacks, I'm going to say I'll take a healthy Matthew Stafford. That dude did nothing but come back when he was in Detroit. I don't know how you measure that. What's the metric there? If your team is sucked for 3 quarters and you got to come back a lot in the fourth, what were you doing the first 3 quarters? Why the hell are you behind? Why you got to come back? You didn't do your job for 3 quarters and you want to be rewarded because you came back. No, I don't truly understand how to measure it. But even with that said, I'm with Don. There's Brady. There's he who shall not be named. Mahomes, Allen, a bunch of other people.
I mean, historically speaking, with at the 2-minute warning, going through history, I want John Elway.
Right, exactly.
Or Montana.
Yeah.
I guess the last question.
Mike don't get that question.
Mike already answered it.
Yeah. We're going to mute Mike for this.
To be upset. So Mike says it's the 49ers. What do you say, Demetrius?
I say because the Vikings are an absolute fraud, but are somehow favored. And I don't love the Giants. But I just think Minnesota's fraudulent. Complete frauds. They fattened up on bad teams, and their differential for a 12-4 team, they got a minus differential. Why? Because we smoked them. Dallas smoked them. The Packers smoked them. When they lost, they took beatings because they played a handful of good teams. They got lucky. Buffalo should have beat them. That was nonsense. We had them beat in Minnesota early in the year. They're frauds. I'm really unhappy that they're 13-4 and that they won our division. I'm sick to my stomach that team gets a home playoff game. So I'm taking the short answer, the Giants. Take the Giants into 3 points. That's the upset.
Okay. John? Who do you think is most likely to be upset?
Well,
don't say the Seahawks.
No, that wouldn't be an upset. An upset would you picked an upset. You picked the Giants.
The Seahawks would absolutely be an upset. They're 9-point underdogs. Yeah.
Well,
but Mike already drove. Mike already drove that car off the cliff.
Right. So we already know the answer to Mike's question on that.
I don't want Don holding Mike's hand like at the end of Thelma and Louise going off the cliff together. That's all I'm saying.
So who you got, Don? Let's see. The Bills.
What's the Chargers-Jaguars line? Who's favored in that game, by the way? I don't know who's favored. Chargers?
Actually, the Jaguars are favored +1.
And it's in Jacksonville, right?
It's in Jacksonville. Not even the home field 3 usually, or 2.5. It's a 1 point. You could say this is a pick'em game.
I know. That's what I was about to say. Who's really the underdog? What's the upset there? That's an interesting game.
Yeah.
So
who's your upset?
I wasn't pick Dallas, right? No.
No. Yikes.
He's gonna pick the Seahawks.
I would say, the Giants.
Okay, good call.
Okay.
I agree with you 100%.
With what I'm looking in front of me, I would say Giants.
Yeah. Now, because Dallas is favored in Tampa, right? Because I thought Don would pick Dallas, but Dallas is actually the favorite, aren't they?
Well,
yeah, I think they're 3-point favorites or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting ready to go through the odds right now.
Okay.
Okay. So Seahawks versus the 49ers. The Seahawks are getting 9.5, and Mike is taking.
Mike just bet his house. Mike just bet his house. Mike just went on Bet Rivers and put his house payment on it.
So Mike, I'm assuming that there's a trifecta here. So you had the Seahawks as your winner in this. Demetrius, are you taking the 9.5? Or are you giving it?
No. I'll give the Seahawks 9.5. I'd give them more than that. I don't think this game is going to be close.
Don?
What's that?
Are you taking the Seahawks at 9.5?
Are you giving the Seahawks 9.5?
No. The Niners are gonna. It's not gonna be a game. That's gonna be the worst game of the year or the week. I mean,
yeah. The only way they cover is if the game is, 10-0 or 10-3, because I just don't see how Seattle scores. That's the problem. I don't see how Seattle puts up that many points.
Yeah, I think if Devo is back healthy, I think this is an NFL version of the college football playoffs.
Wow!
Look at Mike. In the car, flying over the cliff. Doesn't know what to do. He realizes what he did now.
Okay, Mike. I'll give you redemption here, Mike. The Chargers -1 at the Jaguars.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers in this one. So yeah.
You're giving the Jags that 1 point at home.
I am.
Demetrius?
I agree with Mike. I actually, as much as I like Jacksonville, I like Justin Herbert more, and I like the Chargers more. So yeah, I give Jacksonville a point at home. Sure.
Okay. Don?
We'll make the trifecta. I like the Chargers.
Yeah. Well, we might as well keep it going. I'll take the Chargers in this one too. Yeah. Don, the Fins without Tua, getting 10.5 at the Bills.
Okay. So I mentioned the 49er Seahawks game being the ugly game, but I forgot about this one.
Right.
Yeah, the Bills will be Georgia and the Dolphins will be TCU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that bad, but it'll be.
It's going to be pretty close to that.
If the colder it is in Buffalo, the more likely that is.
Yeah.
But so everybody agrees. The Bills.
I think that's an easy, unanimous decision on that. We're laying the 10.5.
And I guess we don't have to worry about the next one as far as you're concerned, because you're giving the Vikings 3.5 to beat you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Vikings in this. Yeah, I think the Vikings win, but I agree with everybody's assessment of the Vikings. They're like the Tennessee of last year, where they were just straight out lucky. I mean, they came back against the Colts down 30 points. They just all year have been lucky. The horrible defense, but the Giants is. I mean, if almost anybody else were playing the Vikings, I'd probably take that other team, but Giants are just that bad.
Don?
I'll go Vikings.
Okay. Oh, wow. Demetrius, you riding?
Yeah, I'm out by myself, which just means I get to be an asshole next week when I'm right.
Okay. Okay. Don, the Ratbirds getting 6.5 at Cincinnati.
I'm going to go Cincinnati. I know, Ravens they're missing probably Lamar and.
As of now, Lamar is out.
Yeah,
Huntley might be out too.
I think Duvernay's still out. So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard whether Huntley's in or out. I think the last I heard on him was questionable, but we'll see. So, Mike, who you got?
Yeah, I think just like the Bills, the Bengals are going to dominate this one. It won't be close. So, yeah, I'm thinking 10 plus points for the Bengals.
Demetrius, the Ratbirds, Bungles?
No, sir. I agree. I agree with the guys. I think this game's in Cincinnati. I don't think Lamar plays. I'm not sure this one is close. I think we're going to probably see 4 pretty ugly games, in my opinion.
And the last Monday night game of the season, I believe, Demetrius, the Cowboys giving the Buccaneers and Tom Brady 2.5.
Yeah, I'm going to lay the 2.5. I think we get the best version of Dak Prescott. And I don't know that it's a blowout, but 2.5 is just a field goal. So I think we take any win. I think Dallas wins maybe Tampa makes it closer late, but I think Dallas wins the game outright. So I'll lay the 2.5.
Mike?
Yeah, I agree with Demetrius. I think it's be like a 3 to 5 point game for the Cowboys.
Don?
I think the Cowboys will rebound. So yeah, I'll go with the boys.
Hey, great show tonight, guys. Wow. I don't know. New Year. It's only 8:06. Let me see if I can.
It's only 8:06 in California, bro. It's only 8:06 in California. It is 10:06 in Northern Illinois. So yeah.
So Don, final thoughts for the evening, man. Always glad to see you here. I know this is kind of a lull in your season, so we're glad to get you here as much as we can. So your final thoughts for the evening.
Final thoughts. I just saw today online a sad story. A young offensive lineman, Air Force Academy, dropped dead. His heart stopped. And this is becoming very much a problem lately. We've seen it on the basketball courts, the
lacrosse,
soccer fields, across these young people going to cardiac arrest. So I think there needs to be some kind of study to see what's going on. I know some people just have conditions, and it happens. It's happened before. But it seems to be like every day it's you read about it. And, this guy was 21 years old. Of course, if you're at the military academy, you're at Air Force, you're in peak condition. I mean, they demand more of you just in football. I mean, they're going on 10-mile hikes, and it's in Colorado Springs, so everything's uphill, and you got the thinner air, which means your blood is oxygen rich. So this is unprecedented. So we need to see why these young athletes are just dropping dead.
I do have a kind of an addendum for that, Don, and being my age, one of the things that you should always read are the side effects for any medication or vaccines that you may be taking.
Yeah.
And I'll calm down. I'm not anti-vaccine. I've had all the boosters. I've had the shingles.
You got to include supplements in that too.
Right. So that's why I said any. And make sure that you read the side effects of anything that you put in your body. Yeah. Mike, your final thoughts.
I don't have anything really all that important to say. I just want to wish all the teams the best of luck over this weekend, and may the best team win. And hopefully these aren't blowouts, that they're just really competitive games. Right. Well, maybe one, so I can take a nap. Maybe one. But other than that, I just wish everyone the best.
Squeeze in a mid-afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Demetrius, I'm going to give you the final word, but I have to stick my little thing in here. You guys are looking at the first champion of the Sports League Fantasy League.
Ooh. Nice. Well done.
Even after Mike and Bill both sanded me in my first meeting, Mike humiliated me. He took me. That was the worst loss I had all season, but I came from fourth to win the championship. So, hey, there was a nice little reward. I'll show everybody next week that we have every year from here forward. I will present a T-shirt to the winner of the SPORTSKRIB League that names them champions. I'll show you the design. So starting 2023, there will be a T-shirt. There will be a winner for the T-shirt of the SPORTSKRIB. So, Demetrius, take us home.
So first, apologies to the dude you got to kick out of the league when I join next year, because I'm in. Somebody got to go because I'm in. So I'm gonna do a gratuitous Lions thing, right? I don't know that everybody.
We're going to do a Big Ten thing. We're just going to put 2 more teams.
Right. Just add some people. That's cool.
Yeah, there you go.
So my thing is gratuitous from the Lions, but I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. You guys know Dan Campbell, right? I've talked about Brad Holmes enough to know. But what I don't think is really popular and a lot of people like to do is talk about their owner, right? And I don't know if you guys know who the owner of the Detroit Lions is, right? And so it is completely gratuitous. It is completely me because when things aren't well, especially in Detroit, this team, this ownership group is taking a hit. So originally they've been owned since the early 60s by William Clay Ford. He died maybe 10 years ago. His wife, Martha Firestone Ford, took over for 5-6 years, still weren't doing well. She did it differently, but now the last 2 years has been their daughter. Her name is Sheila Ford Hamp. I'm going to tell you guys, she gets it. I just want you guys to know who the owner of the Detroit Lions is. That's it. That's my final thoughts. She gets it. The way she took over when she fired Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, she did it with class. And she said, hey, to the fans, let me tell you, we're going to be collaborative. And then she put together this team of smart dudes. Chris Spielman, this guy named Rod Graves, former athletic director at Michigan State named Mark Hollis, Barry Sanders. She put together a group of smart dudes and said, find me a GM. They prioritize grit, what Detroit's all about, and player development. And they went and got the director of college scouting from the Rams, Brad Holmes. And then they hired a coach that fits everything she said. They did the whole thing right. They handled Matthew Stafford's trade with class. There was no getting on the Pat McAfee podcast. There was no scrubbing his Twitter. He came in. They had a meeting. It was classy. Nobody knew about it. They handled it well. They made a phenomenal trade. Guys, we got 2 1s, a 3, and Jared Goff. That's what we got for Stafford. One of them,
amazing.
Right, 2 1s, a 3, and Jared Goff is what we got. And I loved Matthew Stafford. Dan Campbell speaks for himself. If he speaks for himself, that dude is real. He's a real dude. Players love him. The results are starting to show. And all of this started with a really short lady named Sheila Ford Hamp who got it. She said, I love my dad, but I need to do it differently than he did it. I love my mom. I need to do it differently than what she did. And she came in with a plan and a strategy. And when we were 1-6, she came out and said, I love Dan Campbell. We're not making a change. When people were talking about firing him, right? She gets it. And I believe now that's the start. When your ownership group gets it, you got a shot. And then when they make 2 great hirings like Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, you got a real shot. I am most excited about my team because of this short little lady named Sheila Ford Hamp. Everybody else is a branch off that tree. And before long, you guys are going to start hearing about it. Because when we start winning and making real noise, that's when you start knowing the owners. I know who Jerry Jones is because they got a trophy room down in Irving or Fort Worth, wherever the hell that building is. Where is it, Don?
Irving.
Arlington. Down in Arlington, right? I know who Bob Kraft is because they got a trophy room in Foxborough or wherever their building is. The Colts have a trophy room. They have one too, right? Because I remember Tony Dungy holding it up. When we get a trophy room, a room where we put our trophies, in case you guys don't know what I'm saying, because we don't have one, right? When we build that room, Dan Campbell's going to get a lot of credit. Brad Holmes is going to get a lot of credit. Players, the Goffs, the Swifts, the Jamison Williams, these guys are going to get a lot of credit. Seriously, though, Sheila Ford Hamp is her name. She doesn't really use the Ford as much. Sheila Hamp is the thing, is the reason. And I don't mind being the first fan who just says, I love our owner. Our owner is badass. I mean, in every way. So that's the turnaround came the day she took over. And if anybody's listening or watching and wondering, oh, I didn't know who the owner, nobody knows who the owner of the Lions is unless you have a shirt like this. Her name is Sheila Ford Hamp, and she deserves to be recognized. So,
yeah, we all laughed when they were talking about biting kneecaps.
Right. It was a joke, right?
I wonder if they're still laughing in Green Bay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I doubt it. And I told you guys last week, we're going to go there. We're going to beat them, and I'm going to be an a-hole. All of it came to fruition. Right? So, and guys, it's great to be back. Great to see. Don, I'm glad you're feeling better, man. That's great.
Thank you.
I still think when Bijan's a Lion, we'll talk more.
All right, guys. Hey,
guys, have a good night.
Have a great night. And hey, good seeing everybody. See you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Hey man, let me know if you want to do a Monday. Just give me a shout out.
Yeah. So the next two are going to be tough, but in February my Mondays clear up. So I'll do one. I absolutely will.
Yeah. Whenever you want to come on, just let me know, man.
Yeah, we got two more standing Monday night medical things.